Hi, hello, my name is Sam, my pronouns are they, them, and welcome back to my office. Right now, I was planning on doing a Sapphic romance recommendation video for the month of February. You know, we got Valentine's Day coming up and all that fun garbage. And I was trying to get everything together and I realized that my Sapphic romance category, my contemporary Sapphic romance category, is very few and far between. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the books that I do recommend for you, and then I'm going to talk about some of the books that I have picked up and I am most excited to get started with and add to my arsenal of Sapphic romantic contemporary books. So this video is not going to include any Sapphic horror or any Sapphic fantasy. So I read a lot of Sapphic books, but they are all fantasy or horror. I am not a super romance heavy person in a way that I read a lot of romance, but I don't enjoy a lot of romance, and I kind of pick up romance more for the convenience of its readily availableness in audiobook format. So we're changing things around. We're making some changes in that department, but let's get started. I think that I am planning on starting with my two comfort reads, the reads that I have reread them so many times, I just kind of keep going back to them. Another side point is I have checked over all of these to hopefully make sure that none of them are under St. Martin's Press or any of their imprints. If you did not know, I'm still participating in the St. Martin's Press boycott. But if I mess something up, if something is actually published under them or anything like that, please let me know. I'm doing my best, but please tell me if I'm not actually doing that well. So first, we have We Are Not Okay by Nina Lacour. This book I have reread 3 or 4 times probably now. I reread it every time I am having a mental breakdown, it feels like, and it's just an incredible book. So this is a story of Marin and Mabel. Marin is a young girl who her grandfather dies and her life kind of falls apart, and she goes away to college and is just trying to get through her days and is really struggling mentally, kind of dealing with the discovery of her own self as a person and her identity and what life without any family kind of looks like. And her best friend Mabel kind of had a little bit of problems when Marin left for college, but Mabel ends up going to Marin's college over the winter break because she misses her and they haven't really spoken, and she's really concerned about her, and Marin does not have a home to return to, so she's staying in her college. So this is a story about discovering your identity, discovering your own self, working through mental illness, working through family trauma, and Sapphic underpining. It's really short, but I just find it to be so intensely comforting when it comes to when I'm having a hard mental day. This was one of the first Sapphic books that I ever read, and it stuck with me until it has stuck with me from the day that I read it, and I have reread it so many times that I'm not even sure how many times anymore. It's so worth it in every way. You can tell by my tabbing. It always fades off. I've tabbed it a couple times, but it always fades off towards the end because I'm just sitting there crying, and then I can't tab because I'm too busy crying. So, We Are Not Okay by Nina Lacour. So for this one, I could have waited until the end, but it would have been pretty anticlimactic because I talk about this book constantly. This is my #1 favorite book of all time. I say that with confidence. I cannot rate any other book in terms of a top 10, but I can place my #1. So I talk about this book constantly, and it is Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. Yes, my copy is decimated beyond belief because I keep rereading it and I keep tabbing it and then I keep re-tabbing it. And you know what's worse? I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna tab it again. I'm planning on it. So this is about Grace Porter and Yuki Yamamoto. Grace Porter is a PhD student. She is a black woman like fighting for space in the astronomy field. So she had to fight for her space and for herself all throughout school. And now she has graduated and she is entering into the career field and is having a really hard time doing so. So her best friends end up taking her to Vegas for a little post-graduation celebration where she marries a woman while she is blackout drunk and she does not remember who this woman is the next day. So this is not a conventional romance, I would not say. This is not anything that's going to be like a Tessa Bailey kind of scenario. This, again, has a lot to do with like working on her mental health, working within herself, dealing with her own traumas and her own issues. And there's just kind of a romance subplot with it. Like, it all is kind of spurred on by her Vegas marriage to Yuki, who is a fantastic, I believe she is a Japanese American living in New York City. And she has a podcast, or like a radio show. Sorry, it's a radio show. It's not a podcast. Where she tells stories about like creatures and myths. And it's just, oh my god. I don't feel like I can even talk about this book well anymore because I don't feel like there's anything that I could say that would do it justice. Because this book is perfect. These characters are perfect. The writing style is perfect. This book is perfect. And I have never felt so seen and so connected to a character in my entire life. Grace Porter is everything to me. Morgan Rogers as an author is everything to me. And this is yet again my desperate plea into the world for Morgan Rogers to write another book. So if you take anything from this video, this recommendation video, read Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. It's worth it. It's perfect. I love it. Okay, now we are going to go into one that is not really a contemporary romance. It's more of a historical murder mystery, but I feel like no one really talks about it, and I feel like it's a really fantastic option that I loved it when I read it. And there's definitely a romance aspect to it, which I think is very valuable and important. And that is Dead Dead Girls by Nekesa Afia. So this is a fantastic Harlem Renaissance mystery. So this is set in Harlem in 1926. And this follows Louise Lloyd. Girls in her neighborhood keep ending up dead. Like, I believe one of them, her corpse was left on like the front, like in front of the door to the place that she works, to the restaurant that she works at. And she kind of gets wrapped into this whole scenario of trying to figure out who this killer is. On top of that, there is a very clear Sapphic romance within this book. I love this. I love everything about this. I loved the Sapphic romance in this. I loved the fact that it was a scenario between Lois helping solve the murder or like going to jail kind of scenario. And I really enjoyed the way that it was not brought into a romance with the police officer, because that is where I would have thought it would have gone if I did not know that this was a Sapphic romance. So I really enjoyed every aspect of this. I am not someone who likes murder mysteries. I am not someone in the thriller community or even in like the cozy mystery community. But this was fantastic, and I am planning on doing a reread to it to continue on with the series now that I'm starting to collect more of her books. So the next two that we're going to talk about are like super classic for Sapphic contemporary romance. Like, this is as close as you're going to get to the kind of vibes of like Talia Hibbert, Helen Hoang, Chloe Liez, like those kind of like romance vibes. And that is Delilah Green Doesn't Care and Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail by Ashley Herring Blake. So obviously you should read this series. I know that Some people call it overhyped. I know that some people say that it's not all that it's meant to be, but I think that this series is meant to be taken on a lighter note. I really enjoy this series. Is it perfect? Is it everything? Is it heartbreaking? Is this something that you are going to want to go back to every like a year because you're just feeling like sad and you just want to pick me up? Personally, that is not what these are for me. But I think that they are fantastic books. I think that they are fantastic Sapphic representation. This one is between Delilah and Claire. Claire is a single mom with a teen, which I loved that about this. And Delilah is a photographer from who had been staying in like New York City. So this was a, what do I want to call it? I don't want to call it fake dating. So it was kind of like Delilah told her sister like I could get with her, and she ended up getting with her, and then there was a whole like deceit level to it. It was really good. It was really good in the fact that I don't think it went hardcore for the miscommunication trope. There was a little bit of miscommunication, but it was like very valid miscommunication that Delilah ultimately had to make up for because like she was the problem there. So this one was my favorite of the two. I just enjoyed their dynamic a lot. There were a lot of things that Delilah had to get over to have a healthy relationship, and I enjoyed seeing that inner work along with this cute romance. And then for Astrid, so Astrid Parker is like this perfect rich white woman, and her mother expects the world from her, and she ends up getting to be a designer for a TV show to restore an old hotel in town. And Jordan, the granddaughter to the owner of the hotel, is like, no, I need to be a consultant on this. I need to come in here and make sure you're not fucking up my grandma's hotel, because you and your modern boring bullshit does not do it for the aesthetic of this beautiful antique historical hotel. So this is kind of like enemies to lovers kind of vibe. Like, I don't know if I would take it so far as enemies, but like annoyance to lovers, which I really enjoyed. But another aspect of this is that Astrid yet again had to work through herself and through her problems to deal with what's going on in the relationship. And Jordan had to do the same, because Jordan was someone who is just getting out of a long-term, like, I believe, marriage that went awry. So watching the inner work on these two while the romance is going is something that I really value, and I thought was a fantastic aspect to these books, which is why I am recommending them. Yes, they are a cute Sapphic romance, but there is also some really good inner work there that I think is valuable and makes the stories worth your time, even if people say that they are overhyped. So this last one I think is perfect for the month of February because it's wintry still. You know, it's like a holiday one, but it's still wintry, it's still cold, it's still chilly. I think it's fantastic. And I don't feel like people talk about this one enough at all. And it is How to Excavate a Heart by Jake Maia Arlow. Now, this book, look at this little cute stupid dog on this cover. Look at this cover in general. It's just gorgeous. This book I picked up randomly. I did not really think much of it, but I was just in love with the cover. So the first line to the description is, it all starts when Shani runs into May, like literally, with her mom's Subaru. Attempted vehicular manslaughter was not part of Shani's plan. So Shani is coming into the Washington area to go and do an internship for paleoichthyology for the month. And she ends up accidentally hitting May, the soon-to-be love interest, with her mom's car when they're going into the city to move her in for the month. This is not an enemies to lovers. You might think it is because you might feel pretty petty if someone hit you with your car, but that's not really the case there. So Shani ends up like taking over and walking May's dog in a whole crazy scheme of events. And they end up getting close to each other, and Shani's like, May, why are you so angsty? Like, what is going on? And she's just like, ugh, it's just my dad. So this is YA. These are just like teenagers, being cute, falling for each other, not super serious, but super fun. And I believe that this also has Jewish representation in it. So this was just fantastic. I loved every second of it. It was cute, it was lighthearted, it was fun. And again, look at this stupid little dog. Look at him. This one was just cute. Like, if you're looking for something that's a little bit more on the lighthearted side, but still has some value and some, like, body to it, this is a really good one. So now let's get into some Sapphic books that I am planning to read very soon. Quite a few of these I'm planning to read in February, but not all of them. So let's talk about them a little bit. So I am planning on reading Iris Kelly Doesn't Date by Ashley Herring Blake. This is the last book in this series. And we are following Iris Kelly, who is, I believe, someone who is not super serious in relationships, and she kind of jumps around career-wise. She is trying to write her book, but she gets distracted, she procrastinates it, and she ends up, like, being in a play. And a fake dating scenario starts from there, is what I believe that this is about. Honestly, if it's anything like the other two books in this series, I'm really going to enjoy it. It's not going to be like an all-time favorite, but it's going to be good, solid, fun that I can recommend. But if it's anything like the other two books, I feel comfortable recommending it and talking about it, and I'm super excited to pick it up and get those vibes again. Now the next one is Harlem Sunset by Nekesa Afia. I tried to peel off the sticker. I could not. This is the second book after Dead Dead Girls by Nekesa Afia. So this is set in Harlem in 1927. 27-year-old Louise Lloyd has found the perfect job. She is the new manager of the Dove, a club owned by her close friend Rafael Moreno. Lois meets Nora Davies, one of the girls she was kidnapped with a decade ago. The two women, along with Raphael and his sister, Lois's girlfriend, Rosa Marie, spend the night at the Dove, drinking and talking. The next morning, Rosa Maria wakes up covered in blood with no memory of the previous night. Nora is lying dead in the middle of the dance floor. So we've got another murder going on in Harlem, and they're gonna have to figure it out. So another Sapphic murder mystery. I just loved the first book in this series so much. I'm so excited to continue on with it. I found it on sale at Books A Million, so of course I snagged it immediately. Absolutely worth it. And it's so hard to find Nekesa Afia in actual bookstores, so it was really, like, super lucky for me to find this. Now the next one is by an author that I have read before. I was not a big fan of the first book that I read from her, but I think that had to do with the content more than the writing, because I liked the writing style a lot, and I think this content is what is going to do it for me, and that is Providence Girls by Morgan Dante. So this is indie published, so let me read the description to you, because I feel like the description is going to do a better job at explaining what this is about than I ever could. Love changes you, so do the outer gods. Vin escapes being sacrificed in her hilly small town in Massachusetts and ends up in a foggy coastal East Providence. After almost dying in the wilderness, she's saved by the mysterious Azzy Waite, and the two women grow closer. Azzy is stoic but unassuming, save for the long marks on her neck that resemble gills. However, Azzy starts to physically change into a creature of the eldritch deep. She first starts losing her hair and then her teeth. Soon, new additions begin taking their place. Can their love survive such an incomprehensible and monstrous transformation? Doesn't that just sound amazing? And this cover is just gorgeous. And Morgan Dante's writing style is super, like, romantic and descriptive and just beautiful. So I'm super excited to get into this. I read her polyamorous queer vampire romance. It wasn't a big hit for me, but I don't like vampires. I really am not a vampire fan, like, at all, so I don't know why I picked it. I picked it up because my library had it, and I wanted to see if I liked her writing style before I ordered this. And I did like her writing style, so I did order this. So I'm super excited to pick this one up. So now we have another indie published that I'm super excited to pick up. I am beyond obsessed with this cover, and it is Outdrawn by Deanna Gray. Look at that cover. This cover is just, like, everything. It's just everything. I'm obsessed with this. So this is a rivals to lovers romance, and honestly, I've just heard nothing but good things about it. So what I believe this is about two artists who are kind of forced. They're both perfectionists, and they are forced to work together on a webcomic. And they think that the art part of it is going to be the hardest part, or like the competition between the two of them is going to be the hardest part. But it actually ends up being the fact that they really love each other. They're super attracted to each other, and they're just like, I hate you, but I really want you. And I'm so excited for those vibes. This is just a stunning book. I feel super confident in the fact that I'm going to love it, especially because I've been super into indie books lately. I just am enjoying the quality of them more than trad published books lately. So I'm super excited for this. Now, that was the last book that I physically have here. I have some more books coming in the mail. The books that I have coming in the mail are books that I found off Pango Book for a steal of a price. So thank you, Pango. And I double checked that all of these are not published by St. Martin's Press, but hold me accountable, just in case. So the first one we have is Satisfaction Guaranteed by Karelia Stetz-Waters. So this is a rom-com, and it's about this woman, Cade. Her aunt dies, and she ends up going home for the funeral, but she's totally planning on going back to New York, like super immediately, to get back to her career, until she realizes that someone needs to run her aunt's sex shop and save it from foreclosure. And she takes on that responsibility. She has to work together with Selena to try and save this sex shop, but Kate is like super serious, super business oriented, super like classic New York City kind of businesswoman, and Selena is just like kind of jokey, kind of fun, not super business oriented, but is trying her best, and they're both super attracted to each other. So this sounds like a Hallmark movie, and I'm super excited for it. It kind of gives off Emily Henry vibes, but Sapphic, so you gotta be loving that. The next one is Read Between the Lines by Rachel Lacey, and this is about Rosie, who took over her mother's Manhattan bookstore. She's like super romance orientated. She's like, I'm living the life with my books, but like, where's my romance? And she starts to like start up a flirty online relationship with a steamy romance author. And she starts to really fall for her. But the steamy romance author has like a normal 9-to-5 job, and she just comes home and writes, and she tries to keep everything very separate. But she really starts to fall for Rose. That one, yet again, sounds like a super cute, like classic Hallmark movie, and I'm excited for it. And the final one that I am the most excited for, and I think could possibly be a recommendation, is The Romance Recipe by Ruby Barrett. So this one is a restaurant romance, and it says, Amy Chambers, restaurant owner, micromanager, control freak. Sophie Brunette, grump in the kitchen, sunshine in the streets. Took 30 years to figure out she was queer. So this is all about like a restaurant owner and a like kitchen manager being like grumpy sunshine together, and just the brutality. And I'm so excited to lay witness to a sapphic relationship unfolding in a restaurant kitchen. I read Love and Other Disasters by Anita Kelly, which was a, I don't know if I want to call it sapphic, but it was a romance between a woman and a non-binary person on a reality cooking TV show. And I really didn't love that one that much. I thought it was not for me, but this kind of kitchen setting, like this inside a kitchen setting, like take it out of the Hollywood level setting, is definitely more my vibe. So I'm super excited for this. I have heard fantastic things about this book, but only from a very few people. I haven't heard most people talk about this. So I'm excited to give it a chance. I think that it could be fantastic. So all of the books that I have talked about that I have not read yet are all books that I'm predicting are going to be between 4 and 5 stars for me. So that's a hefty haul of predictions, but I'm super excited for them. I think that they are going to be amazing, and I cannot wait to do an update to this video to be like, I read these. I would definitely still recommend them. So with that, now that we have seen that my sapphic contemporary romance shelves are lacking, tell me what I'm missing. yeah, definitely tell me what I'm missing, because my Sapphic fantasy and my Sapphic horror are very well rounded so far, but my Sapphic contemporary romance is so lacking. It's just not there. So we need to work on that together. So I hope these recommendations helped you find something that you are interested in, and I hope in turn you can help me find something else that I also might be interested in. I hope that everyone is having a fantastic day, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.